all of these questions. But let me try. Our colleague, the first one to pose a question, raised a matter about the private sector and its role within the social compact, its willingness to invest. It's an important and a very legitimate question. I'm a pensioner, which means I'm unemployed. And so some of my time I therefore work at the foundation. Now, so the foundation, we're looking at these things I was discussing. The state of the economy, what are we doing, what does the social compact mean, and all of that. And because we were worried about what was not happening, we decided that we need to talk to all of the social partners individually. So we engaged the business sector to say to them, you have agreed with the others to have this social compact to produce the following. What are you doing about that? So they told us, they gave us all of their documentation on this matter and indicated where they thought the blockage was. And said, we as a private sector committed ourselves, I mentioned the document that they issued in July last year, we stand by that. We finished that report, we handed it over to government. It was our contribution to this discussion among social partners. And they said to us then, I can't remember when it was that we talked to them, that the government had not responded. So government was quiet. So we talked to labor, we talked to the social sector, we talked to the economic cluster in government. And with regard to the economic cluster, we decided that rather than talk to the cluster, let's talk to the individual ministers, economic ministers. So we spoke to 13 of them. Minister of Finance, of Transport, of Agriculture, of whatever. To pose the question, we as government have said, here is an economic reconstruction and recovery plan. What are you doing in your ministry with regard to that? Just check the budget statements. You know what happens in the budgeting process. That at some point during the year, the ministers must go and defend their individual budgets in Parliament. Just have a look at that. I'm sure you'd find it in the Hansard or in the websites of the departments. And tell me how many of them referred to that recovery plan. None. I'm saying these are government ministers. The president, our president, national president, Ramaphosa, says this is a national government plan. 6 months later, his ministers are in Parliament, and they don't talk about the plan. Something is wrong there. But I'm saying with regard to the private sector, they said to us, look, we're committed to what we said. And what we're asking for is for the presidency to lead us. And we're waiting. That is why I was quoting the statement from the manifesto. and saying it's our common responsibility to make sure that the ANC lives up to that commitment. Because as we understand it, all of the other social partners are saying we're ready to engage. And here is the problem. This leadership that must come from government. You know, you'd remember that many, many years ago, we talked about two economies, a first and a second economy here. There were some theoretical debates about that as to is this right or wrong and so on. But the point is this, it remains true to this day, that where you have had any economic development in this country since '94, it's very visible to see that what remains left behind are the former Bandustans, rural areas where the black people were, and the urban townships, black urban townships. So I'm saying that these two economies remain. Now, in the context of the social compact, which says we must do something, in fact, in reality, to reduce poverty. What does reduction of poverty mean? Reduction of poverty means, and unemployment and all that, means you must cease to have two economies. You can't perpetuate the result, a legacy of colonialism and apartheid, which is what has happened. If you perpetuate that legacy, then you will not end poverty and unemployment. So I'm saying that in the context of the social compact, that social compact must incorporate within it the eradication of this difference between these two economies by making sure that the black sector, which are the ones I'm saying, black townships, rural areas, Bandustan areas, they've got to catch up with the rest. That must be in the planning, that must be in the social compact, and therefore in terms of even talking about this, our local government structures. That's what I'm saying. You see, if you deal with the district municipalities, I mentioned the case of Oliver Tambo. The district, it would happen, it would be the same as Krizani. When I was saying that, for instance, one of the proposals is this major financier of local government, that is the DBSA, the metros don't need the DBSA. These districts need the DBSA. But precisely because the DBSA is going to put in so much money into OR Tambo or Krizani or whatever, they will want to make sure that there is capacity to manage those resources properly. Because part of your problem in that Krizani and so on is that I who come from Oliver Tambo, or Krizani or whatever, have migrated. I live in Johannesburg and Cape Town. I might visit, but I'm an engineer, I'm a technician, I'm an accountant, I'm a whatever, an engineer. But I'm not an engineer in Krizani. So I'm saying that the MAT is not just making capital money available for development, as might come from the DBSA. It's also the capacity to manage and use that money. The district municipality must be given that capacity. So I'm saying that there's a complex of interventions that we need to make through this social compact, which would address a number of these issues, like the matter that is raised, for instance, about women's empowerment and the economy. That ought to be part of that process. If you are rebuilding the South African economy so that it addresses all of these matters that are mentioned, end of poverty, inequality, and all so on, you must address gender inequality. it has got to be an integral part of the planning. On that gender issue, I don't know. I've not been in government for some years now. I don't know what they are doing there. But no, I'm saying I don't know because I'm not there. That's all. The concept and the practice of gender mainstreaming. When you deal with the issue of women's empowerment, is that being addressed? Gender mainstreaming, because it's a very important concept in the practice. In many years when we were in government, we had big fights with the women's movement because I'm sure they've never forgiven me up to today. That includes my wife. Because we were resisting the idea of a women's ministry. We're saying no. That the minister of women is the president. It means the minister of women's affairs must be the president. Because the matter of women's empowerment affects all departments of government. Now you have a minister of economy, women's affairs, who wants to go and talk to the minister of finance. Minister of finance will say, minister, please leave me alone.